So for this, we're going to be doing a low poly or polygonal portrait. And essentially it's just sharp, straight triangles and polygons. We're simplifying and kind of abstracting an image. So you need to find your own image of your pet or take a picture of your pet straight on, because what we're going to do is we're only going to draw half of the image and then we're going to copy and paste it and reflect it. So you're only doing actually half of the image. So you could do yourself, like a selfie straight on, but it has to be able to be divided down the middle and reflected. So no side angles or anything like that. So in Illustrator, you're going to start drawing like this with your pet's head on half of the page. So to get here, what you're going to do is you're going to go to File. Always start with a new document in Illustrator. Don't ever open a photo. So you want to place it on the page instead. So I'm just going to do an 8.5 by 11 inch vertical page, and you could do horizontal too. It's up to you. And then I'm going to go to File, and I'm going to go to Place, and then I'm going to find my picture of the dog. Oftentimes you might want to lighten this a bit. After you place it on the page, I just clicked on the page. It's probably the wrong side. So I'm going to Control minus and zoom out. And I just want to get it to size, hold Shift. So her head is fully on the page. And I can change this later. Now, if your dog's head is at an angle, you might have to go off to the corner and rotate it. I'll show you that in just a minute. But if you notice your picture's too dark, as long as you are in the Essentials Classic layout, you should see when you click on your picture, you can edit it in Photoshop. So if that's the case, you can open it. It'll go right over to Photoshop. And then under Image and Adjustments, I'm in Photoshop now. I can do some brightness and contrast if needed and brighten that up. And then let's try that a little. Just brighten it a little. And then as soon as I save it, Control S or File Save, it should, when I go back to Illustrator, tell me some files are missing or modified that are linked to this file. So I just click yes, and it updates it with my new edits. You can also crop your image here or just let it go off the page. So if it's bothering you, this is my actual page. Just hit okay. You can go in and just crop. So it's just their head showing. Oops, I don't want to get her ear. So that is essentially just setting up the page. So notice I'm just getting her head, but I also kind of want to get her little collar and neck a little bit too. But if you have the legs in there and stuff, it just gets, you want it to be kind of close up. So like this. So then I'm just going to hit apply. And now she's on the page. I don't have to worry about, under here. It might be a square portrait instead of a horizontal or a rectangular one later. So this is where I'm going to, as I have her head enlarged on the page, I'm going to take a rectangle tool and I'm just going to cover half of her face. So with dogs, I really look for that little cleft in the middle of their nose or their tongue. And because what I'm going to do is I'm just drawing one side of the head and then I'm going to copy and paste it. So I might need to click on the picture with my arrow tool and just rotate it just a little, because I noticed the line in her nose and tongue were just a little bit crooked. So now if I were to draw all that, I'm going to use my arrow tools. I could just easily copy and paste it. And I think it would be like right about in the middle of her face. It's better to draw a little too much of her face than not draw enough like of this stuff, because you can always overlap it a little. So it's better to have a little extra showing if possible. Okay, so once that's in line, I'm just doing that to block out that. So what I'm going to do is just lock this layer, and I'm going to add a new layer to draw on. I also like to go up to View, and I like to go to Trim View. So View, Trim View. If you do that, it cuts off the edges and it gets rid of whatever falls off the edge of the page. So you have to turn it on and off. Just remember that it's on. Okay, so from this point on, what you're going to be doing is using some key commands. So the key commands you're going to use are, I'm just going to put it over here so you can remember it. I for eyedropper tool. Let's try that again. So remember I keep doing it. I is for eyedropper tool. So eyedropper. Oops, it's in trim mode, so it's going right off the edge of the page there. And then what we have is P, not perspective grid. Turn that off. E No. Let me go here. Okay. So I for eyedropper tool, P, pen tool, and then V is your selection tool. Let me move that out of the way. Okay. Where did my eye go? Just so you can kind of, it'll help you remember here. Those are the 3 key commands that are helpful. You can always go over here as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in, Control plus, and I'm going to be using my I, my P, and my V to get to my tools. So I is eyedropper tool. So what I want to do is look for sections of color. So I have a dark blackish purple here. I'm going to sample that color. It's kind of a navy blue. And then I'm going to go to my P, and I'm going to draw in some triangles or polygons. So I'm doing like, I go and make an entire shape. I go back to where I started. But then I have to press V on my keyboard to then deselect the shape. Otherwise, the pen tool will just continue on. So I'm going to click off of it anywhere that's not painted, and it deselects it. So again, I sample this. I want to look for areas, chunks of values. So this light area here, I'm going to sample that. P for pen tool. And now I'm going to go through here, and I don't have to do exact triangles. I can do like these straight edged shapes like this. I go back to where I started, V to click off of it. So when I get into areas like the eye or the nose or the mouth, that's when I want to use some like tinier shapes, or maybe even some like sharp edged shapes, like little slices where some of her fur is. So again, though, you're just going to be building this up with I to sample, P to draw, just draw complete shapes. But see how in here the fill's on right now, so it feels kind of funny. But when I go back to where I started, it fills in normally. And then V to deselect. So I sample the color, P draw the shape, V deselect. And you're just going to build this up slice by slice. So feel free to use like bigger shapes up here. And then but when I get to the eye and the nose and the mouth, I want to really do tiny shapes because I want a lot of detail in those areas. So in here, I'm going to do a lot of little tiny shades of color and just kind of build those up. V, click off. I sample again, and you'll be surprised all the different color variations. It'll give it a lot of dimension. So as you work, just make sure the first time you just save as, save it to your computer in your graphic design folder. And I'm going to call this like polygonal. Her name's Maya, so I'll put Maya. Okay. But just keep at it until you get something that is completely filled in and you're just doing one side, and then you're going to copy and paste that and then flip it or reflect it.